Quick check of the market action today. Stocks selling off into the close. The Dow and S&P both dropping more than 1%, both closing below their 50-day moving averages. The tech-heavy Nasdaq dropping more than 2%. Turning now to Twitter, shares finishing in the green after Elon Musk announced on the site that he would not be joining the social media company's board. The Tesla CEO was supposed to take the job officially over the weekend. For more on this Musk whiplash, let's bring in Oppenheimer senior internet analyst Jason Helfstein, who has an outperform rating, a $60 price target on Twitter. Jason, great to have you with us.
Thanks.
Obviously, Musk not being on the board, Musk being allowed to acquire more shares, it gives him a little bit more freedom, a little more latitude to force change if he chose to, and it's not clear what he will actually choose to do. What would you like to see him do from a shareholder perspective?
Yeah, look, I think we need some answers from the company. And so around why isn't user engagement stronger? For a period of time, one could blame COVID pull forward of more time spent, at home on devices. But I think the question is, if the product improvements are working, and if you follow the narrative, it does seem like things like topics, the way to create accounts are getting easier. Why is user growth slowing? And I think one of the questions investors have is it editorial or content decisions that the company is making that may be alienating some users, encouraging them to go to other platforms?
Well, how will we get that answer, Jason? I think that's like the question everybody wants answered, and I think that's what Elon Musk sort of brings to light in this debate over where Twitter is going. And so how do you as an analyst get that answer? How do you come up with that $60 price target if we don't know what that answer is?
So, I mean, look, I can start and say kind of like, where is Snap today? And Twitter still trades at I think it's a 63% discount to Snap on this year's revenue estimate. So you could, it's not hard to say, if you believe in the company, how do you get upside? But I think that, the pressure needs to ultimately come from Mr. Musk. So to the extent that he made the decision not to be on the board, it doesn't mean he won't support getting his preferred nominees on the board. This is a stock that, if you look at it, doesn't really have, I will say, broad investor support. If you look at it, a lot of the investment is from index funds, passive investors. If you do get other investors who do want to piggyback Mr. Musk, and they're willing to lend their support behind his nominee or nominees, I think there is a way to get the company to kind of face some hard truths, which is, what do they want to be when they grow up? Now, this is not a small company, but, the question is, can you get to be 1 billion users over time in a truly kind of dominant, like global platform? And do you want to be an advertising company? Do you want to be a subscription company? What do you want to be when you grow up?
So, Jason, I wonder if the company has gotten that message to some extent. I mean, if the stock is going to go up every single day Elon Musk is connected to Twitter in some sort of headline, and goes up even more the day that Elon Musk, decides not to join the board and is free to acquire more shares and free to, isn't that the answer the company has gotten? That what they are doing is not what shareholders want. Shareholders want something else.
Again, look, just the stock's reaction to his initial involvement. And in today, what was a weak day for some tech stocks, Twitter was up again. It was a big short covering day, but for some of the tech names. But look, I think it's showing you that there are investors who believe that this asset can be better managed. And I think the question is, how do you become a platform for a more diverse group of voices? It's clear that the other social media platforms do not want to be in the news business or the information business. There's other areas that they're focused on, and this area is ripe for Twitter to be successful. And so, look, I think it starts with clarifying what content will be acceptable on the platform. If advertisers don't want to support that content, potentially, because again, we are seeing a lot of advertisers just not want to be around certain news content, then perhaps there's a way to turn it into a subscription business. There are plenty of subscription business models on the internet today. And so again, I think what you're seeing in the stock is that investors do want to support Mr. Musk pushing change.
Jason, great to speak with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jason Helfstein of Oppenheimer. Bloomberg had an opinion piece today, and the headline I thought was really interesting, put it quite succinctly. Musk isn't joining Twitter. Twitter has joined him. I thought that was really interesting given what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I understand why he didn't want to go on the board. I think he can do so much more from the outside. He can, put ideas forth to the Twitter sphere and get great feedback there. So that's really important. He probably would be bored during the meetings, honestly. And the other thing is, not only is he free to buy shares, he is also free to sell shares. If he were on the board, he would not be free to sell shares except for occasional windows in between quarters. Not that he couldn't, but he's absolutely free to sell whenever he'd like. I get why he didn't do it. I'm not quite sure why he said at the 2 days ago, yeah, I'll be on the board.
Yeah, I would just say for investors following him into the trade, he's never really articulated why he thinks Twitter is a good investment. He's told you that he's addicted to the product. He obviously finds it fun, and he wants changes to happen, and he likes trolling them. And I think this really goes back to, his view of the world, Jack Dorsey's view of the world, some other people who've created these centralized platforms' view of the world. And I think he's having some fun with it. And I think you're right. I mean, if he were going to go on that board, he'd have a fiduciary responsibility. I suspect he gets bored. I suspect he doesn't think he can affect the sorts of change that he would like, and then he probably moves on because he owns this thing with an average price below 40, and I think he wants to take a gain. So if he can't affect change that he thinks is going to turn into a greater profitable platform, that he's going to sell out and he's going to move on.
Well, we've seen activism around Twitter before, right? We had Elliott Management push it on Jack Dorsey at one point, and I guess the question is, has Twitter been left alone too long? And I think stirring up the pot, we all recognize, and the market has applauded. I think Elon Musk attached to anything, whether it's uranium or Tesla or other things, it clearly moves it higher. I just also wonder, the company, the CEO over the weekend said distractions, tweeted out to employees, be careful of distractions, substantial distractions ahead. What does that mean? Does that mean they're kind of girding themselves for a Musk offensive? And that's interesting.
Last week, it was April 4th, April 5th, stock traded almost 500 million shares over a 2-day period. We thought it would stop at 55. It got pretty close. Here we are in the high 40s. You buy it again. They report at the end of the month they have a $4 billion stock repurchase in place from their last earnings report, which is not insignificant for that company. And Jason's got a $60 price target. The next time up, I actually think it gets there.